Have you ever had this strange, uneasy feeling that something wasn't right, but you couldn't quite explain why? Like your thoughts, your choices, your reactions weren't fully yours, as if someone else had their hands on the controls. Have you ever done a favor you didn't want to do? Caved in during an argument you knew you were right about? Trusted someone who later revealed a very different face? If any of this sounds familiar and deep down, it does, then this video is for you. Because here's the brutal truth. You are being manipulated by people close to you, by the media, by leaders, by anyone who understands the hidden mechanisms of the human mind. And the worst part? You don't even notice it. Let me ask you, you ever felt like you made a choice, but later questioned whether it was really your decision at all? Did you say yes out of guilt? Stay silent out of fear? Change your mind because someone twisted the narrative just enough? That is manipulation. Not through hypnosis or dramatic brainwashing, but through subtle influence that makes you believe, I decided this. It was my choice. Most people live like this, guided by invisible strings, playing roles in games they never agreed to. And when they try to resist, what happens? They feel guilty, afraid, unsure, because they've been emotionally trained not to fight back. And if your instinct is to say, "This doesn't happen to me," that's exactly what a skilled manipulator wants you to think. This video won't give you comfort. It will give you weapons. Because those who master the art of manipulation, as Machiavelli understood, don't yell. They don't threaten. They simply observe. Decode your weaknesses. Then act. They know what drives you. And if you don't know it yourself, you will be driven. So what's the goal of this video? To help you recognize the signs, the patterns, the emotional traps, the invisible games of control. You'll learn to spot the hooks before they sink in. You'll see the strings before they move you. Because real freedom is not doing whatever you want. It's knowing why you want it. So let me ask you this. Are you tired of being used? Of being guilted into submission? Of staying quiet just to keep the peace? Then stay with me. Because what you're about to learn could change how you see others. More importantly, how you see yourself. So, if this message resonated with you, subscribe. Turn on notifications to help this channel growth. Okay, let's continue. Have you ever noticed that some people always seem to get what they want, even when they don't deserve it? They don't raise their voice. They don't beg. They don't threaten. They persuade. They influence. They make you feel like saying yes was your idea. That's not charisma. That's technique. Pure, calculated manipulation. Real manipulators don't act on impulse. They study you. Your tone. Your body language. The pause in your voice. The flicker in your eyes. They watch when you crave validation. When you're afraid of rejection. When you feel guilty for saying no. Then they act. It begins before a single word is spoken. With silence, observation, precision. Some use charm. They smile, compliment, present themselves as the exception to the rule. They make you feel seen, heard, special. But behind that kindness is cold calculation. They're building emotional debt. Because when someone treats you too well, too soon, you feel like you owe them something, don't you? That pressure to give back, even when you didn't ask for what they gave. That's how it starts. Others use guilt. They play the victim. I'm just overwhelmed. No one understands me. You're the only one I can count on. And slowly, without realizing, you begin carrying their emotions for them. You become emotionally responsible for their peace. Say no. They don't argue. They sigh. Look down. Say, I understand. But it hurts, doesn't it? Because they've trained you to associate boundaries with cruelty. And some go even further. They use fear. If you do this, you'll be alone. If you leave me, you'll regret it. No one else will ever care like I do. They don't use chains. They use suggestions. And those suggestions become internal voices that keep you stuck. Sound familiar? Have you ever had someone plant doubt in your ability to act? So, you ended up doing nothing. This isn't new. Machiavelli wrote about it centuries ago. He showed clearly and without apology that manipulation could be used as a legitimate tool of power. Because people, he said, are driven more by what they see than what they touch. Manipulation is performance, a theater of emotions and illusions. And the most terrifying part? You don't realize you're acting. You believe it's your script, your story, your voice, but there's always a hidden author. And here's the twist. This theater only works because there's something inside you that allows it. An inner gap, a blind spot, an unhealed desire. So let me ask you again. What's your emotional weak spot? Approval, guilt, fear? Until you name it, you can't defend against it. And that's exactly what we'll uncover next. Your hidden vulnerabilities and how they make you a target. Were you taught that love must be earned? That saying no makes you a bad person? That you must always put others first? Then guess what? You were trained. And the manipulators, they're just playing on that training. Some of us carry a hunger for approval so deep, it drives every yes we never wanted to say. Others carry guilt like a shadow, believing that self-care is selfish, that boundaries make us cruel. And some carry fear. Fear of abandonment. Fear of being alone. Fear that without certain people, we are nothing. Let's be honest. Do you see yourself in any of these? Has someone weaponized your kindness? Used your empathy as a leash? Then it's time to take back control. In the next part, we'll talk about building emotional immunity. Not by becoming cold, but by becoming clear. This is how we begin the process. How to protect your mind and start living on your own terms again. Let's start with this. Step 1. Recognize your emotional triggers. What makes you cave? Is it fear of disappointing someone? The anxiety of confrontation? Or maybe the belief that peace matters more than truth? Think about this honestly. When was the last time you said yes, when every part of you wanted to say no? That's your entry point. That's where the work begins. Step 2. Practice strategic detachment. No, it doesn't mean shutting down emotionally. It means learning to pause, to observe without instantly reacting, to stop letting people's urgency become your obligation. Can you sit in silence when someone tries to guilt trip you? Can you delay your response when someone pushes your buttons? Because manipulators rely on one thing, your speed. They want you emotional, quick, unthinking. But when you slow down, when you start responding instead of reacting, you take back control. Step 3. Break the pattern. Be unpredictable. If they expect a yes, say no. They want you to explain, go silent. If they think you'll chase, walk away. When you do what's unexpected, they lose their script, and you regain your power. Step 4. Strengthen your inner identity. Because the stronger you are inside, the less they can twist you from the outside. Ask yourself, who are you when no one's watching? What do you value when no one's applauding? The less you need to prove, the less control others have over you. And finally, Step 5. Set the boundary. Clear, firm, without apology. You don't need to justify your no. You don't need to explain your distance. You owe no one your exhaustion, your silence, your peace. Because manipulators thrive in blurred lines. Draw yours in stone. But what happens when the manipulator is close? A parent, a partner, a friend, a boss. What happens when walking away isn't so simple? This is where it gets real. Because manipulation from a stranger is frustrating. But manipulation from someone you love, that's devastating. It's hard to see clearly when the hand that feeds you is the same hand that's controlling you. You may hear, "I do this because I care. You owe me. Without me, where would you be?" Love turns into leverage. Affection becomes a trap. Have you ever felt like you couldn't say no to someone close because they made you feel guilty, disloyal, or selfish for doing so? That's not love. That's emotional debt collection. So how do you break it? You start by seeing it. Then you name it. Then you set the boundary. And when the guilt shows up, because it will, you stand your ground anyway. You don't owe your mental health to tradition. You don't owe your self-worth to anyone's expectations. And yes, walking away from emotional manipulation can be lonely. But staying in it, that's even lonelier. Because the longer you stay in the game, the more you lose sight of who you are. So I'll ask you now, is there someone in your life who claims to love you, but makes you feel small, drained, obligated? Then maybe, just maybe, they're not loving you. They're using you. And that realization, that's the beginning of freedom. Now, how do you stay free? By learning what Machiavelli taught, not as cruelty, but as clarity. In a world that's constantly trying to shape your thoughts, you must become the strategist of your own mind. Machiavelli said, "Men judge more by their eyes than by their hands." In modern terms, perception is power. So what do? You master the art of perception. It's not to manipulate others, but to stop being manipulated yourself. You observe people's actions, not their words. You question narratives that benefit others at your expense. You hold back your emotional cards, because sometimes silence is your shield. You stop living on emotional autopilot. You stop assuming everyone has good intentions. Because here's the final truth. If you don't take control of your mind, someone else will. Sometimes it's society. Sometimes it's family. Sometimes it's the voice in your head that was planted there long ago. So here's my challenge to you. Stop mistaking people-pleasing for kindness. Stop mistaking guilt for love. Stop mistaking fear for loyalty. You don't need to be accepted by those who benefit from your silence. You don't need to be understood by those who never listened in the first place. You only need one thing: clarity. And from clarity comes power. So, are you ready to stop being controlled? To cut the final string? To look at the manipulator in your life and calmly say, "No more"? If this video spoke to something inside you, don't keep it to yourself. Comment below. What moment opened your eyes to manipulation? Who is the person that made you realize your boundaries mattered? And if you're still stuck in it, write it down. Speak it. Because the first step to ending the cycle is naming it. And when you're ready, watch the next video. Because this journey isn't over. It's just beginning. And the truth doesn't just set you free. It transforms you. Now that you understand the psychology of manipulation and have taken the first steps toward building emotional immunity, we need to go even deeper. Because here's the truth. Escaping manipulation is only half the battle. The other half is staying free. And for that, you need something even more powerful than awareness: strategic identity. Let me ask you, who are you when you're not being mirrored by someone else's expectations? Who are you without the pressure to please, perform, or protect others from discomfort? Because if you can't answer that, then you're still vulnerable. Let's go further. The manipulation loop. There's a reason many people repeat the same toxic patterns over and over. It's not because they're weak. It's because the manipulation feels familiar. It mirrors something they've been trained to respond to, usually from childhood. Think about it. Was affection in your childhood conditional? Were you only praised when you obeyed? only loved when you pleased, only noticed when you excelled. Then manipulation became part of how you learned to survive. And here's the catch. What helped you survive as a child could be what's sabotaging you now. You may now tolerate guilt trips because they feel normal. You may stay silent when disrespected because speaking up once led to punishment. You may confuse intensity with intimacy because drama was mistaken for connection. Take a moment. Let that land. Are you still living according to someone else's blueprint? Still chasing love the way a child chased approval? Still afraid to disappoint because you were once made to feel like a burden? That's not your fault. But it is now your responsibility. And if you don't break the loop, it will repeat. In every relationship, every job, every decision. So how do you break it? With inner reconstruction, internal reconstruction. Here's where we shift from awareness to rewiring. Start with this. 1. Identify the false beliefs. Write them down. I must be liked to be safe. If I say no, I'll be abandoned. My needs are a burden. Ask yourself, who taught me this? And who benefits from me believing it? 2. Reparent your mind. When guilt shows up, don't run from it. Speak to it like you would to a scared child. I know you think you're doing something wrong, but protecting your peace is not a crime. 3. Mirror your own worth. Don't wait for validation. Affirm yourself in the moments you usually shrink. Not for ego, but to reestablish authority over your own identity. 4. Practice uncomfortable truth-telling. Say the hard thing. Speak the no. Stand by your clarity. Because silence may protect harmony, but truth protects you. Let me ask you, what truth have you been swallowing for years? And who benefits from your silence? Write it down. Say it out loud. Let it shake the system. Manipulation in systems. Media, religion, culture. Manipulation isn't just personal. It's systemic. Think about the messages you hear constantly. Good people don't walk away. Sacrifice is a virtue. Forgive no matter what. Sounds noble, right? But who profits from these beliefs? Companies that want you to overwork. Religions that want blind obedience. Toxic people who want zero consequences. Have you ever wondered why we glorify suffering in silence? Why we applaud selflessness to the point of self-erasure? Because a society built on control fears people who are clear. Clarity is dangerous. It disrupts. It says, I see what you're doing. I know who I am. And I'm not playing along. Underscore. Strategic silence v. Blind compliance. Machiavelli wrote, never attempt to win by force what can be won by deception. But what if deception isn't external? What if it's internalized? What if the stories you tell yourself about your role in relationships are the real trap? Stories like, I have to keep the peace. They didn't mean to hurt me. I'm being too sensitive. These are not humility. They are hesitation dressed as virtue. So let me offer you this tool. When someone pressures you emotionally, don't answer immediately. Pause. Breathe. Observe. Use silence not as retreat, but as power. The manipulator thrives on reaction. Your stillness exposes their agenda. Final shift from victim to strategist. You are not just here to defend yourself. You are here to lead yourself. That means learning to say no without guilt, leaving without explanation, watching people's actions, not their words, letting others misunderstand you and not correcting them, because your clarity is not up for debate. If that sounds hard, it's because it is. But freedom is never free. It costs you comfort. It costs you old roles. It costs you people who only liked you when you stayed small. So ask yourself, Are you ready to be disliked in order to be free? You ready to disappoint those who counted on your silence? Are you ready to finally be you? Then keep going. Because the person you're becoming, they don't need permission. They only need truth. And that truth starts now. If you're still watching, comment below. What was the moment you realized you were never the problem? Or tell me, what manipulation are you ready to walk away from? This is your space. To name it, to break it. To choose yourself fully, unapologetically, relentlessly. Because you don't owe anyone your silence. But you owe yourself your voice. The next video will show you how to rebuild from this new truth. Until then, stay aware, stay grounded, and never forget, you were never too much. You were just too awake. See you in the next chapter.